Welcome to the Seek Outside podcast.
And then you think that's bad? You see Ryan on the phone in the office. Seek Outside podcast.
Some people are just wired that way.
Welcome to the Seek Outside podcast. Today is Thursday, December 4th, and hopefully you guys didn't miss out on the Seek Outside Black Friday sale. If you did, I don't really feel bad for you because you had plenty of opportunities. I feel like
we did give you the time.
Yeah.
We gave you the time.
2.5 weeks, lots of reels and Instagram posts and emails and stuff like that.
Darn near 3 weeks.
Darn near 3 weeks. So
yeah, 3 weeks.
But yeah, hopefully you guys didn't miss that. We got a long list of things to do today here. So we're going to be working through some product announcements. We got some new merch, and then we're going to get to a customer Q&A. So we basically scoured our Facebook group, Seek Outside Adventures. If you're not a part of that, you definitely should be. It's a great place to, if you ever want to buy or sell Seek Outside gear.
Seek Outside. Tips.
Talk Seek Outside. I mean,
early access to stuff.
Early access deals to new product drops. And you also, like, we're on there constantly. So
yeah. Any questions? It's like not the first line of customer service, but we're on Facebook every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's a question on there and we see it, we'll answer it.
Yeah. I have a feeling our listeners, because they're hardcore, hardcore outdoor people, they're probably on there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty sweet. You can get it's like one of the only places you can still find an LBO that goes up for sale every once in a while.
That is true.
But yeah, so I basically scoured Instagram, and Owen brought some ideas to the table as well, just in terms of, frequently asked questions. And we've done a few of these in the past, so we tried to find some ones that were a little bit different. Some of them pertain to like some of the newer products that we have, but we're going to hit that. And then we have the gentleman from KJ from Blackbeard Fire Starters. He is the interview, and that was a great one. We're talking survival, bushcrafting, stuff like that. So definitely stay tuned for that. But before we get to those, I kind of want to cover a couple product-related things. So based on the interview, I mentioned this in the last podcast, we did just start selling Blackbeard Fire Starter, which...
They're pretty impressive.
They are.
They're very impressive. So they have the fire plugs and then the rope. What do they call the rope?
That's just the Blackbeard. That's what they call that one.
Yeah. And the Blackbeard's cool because it's super packable. It's pretty lightweight, and there's like how many burns out of it? Tons.
Yeah.
Probably last me a whole season.
Oh, yeah.
More. Easily. And then the fire plugs are insane.
Mm-hmm.
Literally soak them in water, throw them in a cup of water, and light them with a ferro rod if you want it.
Yeah.
So they're pretty sweet. You can rip them in half, where they come in a pack of 50. So
50,
you get like 100 fire starts.
Yeah. And I think it was 5 ounces for the whole pack there. So
yeah, it's pretty. And I would just pull 5 plugs out for a trip, put them in a little Ziploc, and just run it like that.
Or even if you want to bring the whole thing. So we got to Blackbeard. The reason we started selling them, we have previously, kind of been a little against like certain fire starters, just because a lot of there's some that are just put off nasty chemicals in there. You don't want to be breathing that in, but they also leave a residue inside.
Waxy. Whatever,
They can clog up the damper, limit airflow. The great thing about Blackbeard is, number one, we had a bunch of customers that asked us if they could use specifically Blackbeard fire starters in the stove. So that was kind of like clue number one. These might be pretty sweet. I saw multiple of their ads on YouTube and Instagram where some dude would like throw just douse them in water and then spark them right
light
up.
them up. Yeah.
And, you see those and you're like, all right, maybe under certain circumstances.
Once you see it for yourself, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And we did like all of our own individual testing.
Yeah.
It works as advertised. The waterproof matches, or the weatherproof matches same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You douse them in water, spark them up, and we just thought that specifically, and they're very windproof as well.
Mm-hmm.
Made for the perfect fire. Oh, and they're non-toxic, so they hardly smoke at all.
Yeah.
And they don't leave a residue, so that's great. But
Yeah.
we thought that was the perfect fire starter for our stoves specifically, because if you're taking a hot tent out, you're typically going to be cold and wet.
Yep.
Right? The wood is not going to be ideal. The fire plugs, you spark one of those up, it burns for 6 minutes. We timed it.
It is crazy. Yeah, the burn time is insane. Like, you could just throw one of those in there. Like, I feel like with other fire starters, you know, the time wasn't as long.
Mm-hmm.
And like these are just,
yeah,
they go for a while.
You need like a big thing to get 6 minutes out of it. Like big heavy thing. I mean, these are like an earplug.
Yeah,
literally.
Pretty much. Yeah, an earplug. I think the other cool thing I liked about the Blackbeard is when you first started talking about them, I was like, this is going to be heinously expensive.
Yeah.
But they're pretty reasonable. How much are the fire plugs?
I think it's $12 for the fire plugs.
For 50 of the plugs.
Yeah.
And I'm a plug guy after all the testing. I think that's my preferred weapon of choice for starting fires. Yourself, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fire plugs. I think they're a little bit more convenient.
They're more convenient. They're less packable.
Yeah. But I do think in terms of like number of fire, like if you got, so because the fire plugs burn for so long, you know, if you have wet wood, because they're burning for 6 minutes, that's typically enough time for like little kindling to burn some of that water off and get going.
Yeah.
The Blackbeard doesn't burn as long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, a couple minutes maybe if you have a big chunk of it.
Yep.
But I do think that the Blackbeard, you have, like, if in good conditions, you have more potential fires coming from it. Because you can just use like a couple strains of that stuff.
Yeah, a couple tiny pieces. And good, yeah.
So, something cool that we got going, and they'll probably be live by the time that this podcast comes out. As you know, Black Friday's done, but there's still a chance for, you know, some deals. We went ahead and made a bunch of different kits. And if they're not all out right now at the time of this podcast, they're coming out in the next week or so. But we have multiple, like we have an ultralight fire kit, which basically comes with, I think the Blackbeard and a ferro rod, and then it comes in a Dyneema wallet. We're gonna have, like, that's on the small end, that's the ultralight one. On the big end, we're gonna have like a full flat roll XL that's gonna come with tarp, silky saw, lighter, and the fire plugs. And all these are going to be like 5 to 10% off, depending on, you know, the specific one.
And that big flat roll kit, that's like your bushcrafting 101, right? Yeah. You said it comes with a silky?
Yeah, silky saw. Yeah. I mean, you throw that in your car,
you're pretty much ready for anything. You got a tarp, saw, and fire kit. Mm-hmm. That's about all you can ask for.
I mean, honestly, you could build your own little shelter with the silky saw. You got tarp.
Throw an Atwood in there. That's recorded. Yeah.
Atwood, you're set. Yeah, maybe a little first aid kit action.
Yeah, you're golden. You're golden.
So check those out. They're on the website, as well as we have a bunch of other bundles that are available. You guys might have seen them last year. I think they're called the stocking stuffer bundles. So it's like, you know, you can get a glass door, you know, a grill top, and then I don't know, what are some of the other ones? Like, basically just multiple items bundled. And the good thing is they're 5% off when you bundle them. So, and they all
gifts for people that don't have Seek Outside gear, or gifts for accessories, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They're pretty sweet.
Yep. And those will be live through Christmas. So, that's number one. Number two, merch will be live this Thursday or Friday. So that's going to be either the 4th or the 5th of December.
Got some cool shirts, hoodies.
Yep. And
I like them.
I put those in the last podcast, some photos. I'll include some here. You know, this is kind of the first run. Oh, and we're going to have hats as well. I think last episode, I wasn't sure if we were going to have hats available. Hats are available. This is the first run, so we have limited quantities. If they sell out real quick, we'll do our best to get some more as quick as possible. So
Yep.
check those out. They're high quality t-shirts. I know that we were doing the direct to print merch for a little bit. The print quality of those was not as high. And there were some customers that kind of called in and were like, oh, the print is wearing off. These ones are not that. These are done completely different way.
Yeah.
We tested them beforehand. We've thrown them through the wash. Very reliable brand. So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, merch is live.
Sweet.
Yep.
Stoked.
Let's see what else we got here for December. I mean, I guess just put your orders in if you want stuff in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Trade shows, as you can see back here, we're kind of doing some planning for our trade shows.
We have 3 shows we're going to this year.
Yep.
That you can see us all around the country. We got first and foremost, we got Western Hunt Expo, Salt Lake City.
Yep.
It's going to be a real fun show, and we're going to have a bunch of new products there, a bunch of products to buy. It's going to be really sweet. Just tons of new product, really. Is what's going to be there. And then we got, after that, I think it's Northwest Hunt Expo. That's going to be in Hillsboro, Oregon. So Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon area. If you guys are in the Northwest, it's a great spot to come see us. It's a really cool show. There's it's all just high-end hunting brands. There's none of the fuss, the people selling you popcorn, none of that. It's just all high-end hunting brands, which is really cool. And then we got the Denver, what is that one?
Mile High Hunt Expo.
Mile High Hunt Expo. I've not ever been to it.
It's a good one. Yeah. It's middle of April. I think April 15th or somewhere around there. And that one's Denver. It's easy to get to. It's right out by the airport there. It's at the Gaylord Convention Center. At least that's where it was last year. But yeah, if you guys are interested in checking out a specific product at those shows, let us know. Sometimes we can make that work, or sometimes we can bring one to set up on the side or whatever. So
another thing is too, let's say you're in Canada or somewhere and you want to get the product just hand delivered to you. If you, a month before, place an order with us over the phone, we can just bring it to the show and you can pick it up there.
Yep. As long as lead times are accurate. So definitely make sure you call to double check for that. But yeah, typically a month or two is a good time frame for that. So we'll keep you posted with those, but just wanted to give a fair warning to you, just in case you want to come to those shows to see our gear. And I mean, I think they're worth going to if you're a big gear guy, because every year there's just new companies popping up that have a little 10x10 booth and
some weird innovation or it's pretty cool.
Bring your money with you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And they always, I feel like most places do like show specials, so you can save a little bit there too.
It is nice.
Last thing. So we've got some solid responses on the tier lists that competition that we were doing. We're not 100% clear. I guess we will do one more podcast before Christmas, but we probably will not do one that following week, just looking at the calendar, because that's going to be like New Year's Eve. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, we're going to announce the winners of the gear bundles in that next episode. So make sure you fill out your tier list to be entered to win Seek Outside gear for free. It's just a fun thing that we're doing, trying to see what people enjoy with hunting. We'll put the links down below. You just got to fill it out, take a screenshot of it and send it in to us, email or Instagram, whatever you want to do, and you'll be entered there. So check that one out. And then if you're in Grand Junction,
all the fluff this episode.
Yeah, got a lot of things to promote. If you're in Grand Junction, I can't say much now, but make sure you stay tuned to our Instagram. We're going to be doing something super fun around the holidays that's going to involve like you having to be here in Grand Junction. So
local businesses. Yep,
we got a bunch of local businesses kind of working on this. So I think, yeah, not gonna. Well, I'll say it because it's basically good to go. Just follow the Instagram. We're going to be doing, and because we already did one during Black Friday, we did like a scavenger hunt. Basically, we went out and hit a Cimarron here in Grand Junction. We're going to be doing something similar like that, but this time we have a bunch of local companies in on it, so it's going to be a much bigger prize package. Just follow the Instagram for more details on that. No announcements have been made, but they probably will be in the next week or so here. So, I don't know. Got anything else?
Guys have been fluffed.
Yep, fluffed and ready for the good stuff.
Yeah.
So, what we're doing today is a customer Q&A. Basically, these are some of the most popular questions we get on the customer service team. And I tried to pick some ones that were relevant to the time here. So we're just going to go through and chat a little bit about each one, and hopefully it's some good knowledge for you guys.
Sweet.
So this is a question that get just a ton. And it's a very, like, there's not like a clear answer, but it's how long do the stoves burn for? I don't know if you want to be the first to dive into that, because it's very...
Why don't we just do it? We'll trade off each answer.
Cool.
I'll ask you, you ask me. So
Cool. Go
I'll
ahead.
start off. How long do the stoves burn for? 2 to 4 hours. I don't know. It really is so dependent on the wood, conditions, dryness of the wood, quality, density.
Mhm.
There's so much. How much airflow you're letting into the stove, all that stuff. But I'd say generally, like, with the Big Mama stove, that's our biggest stove, and I'm using like gas station corded wood. I have embers in the morning.
Mhm.
The heat really only probably lasts like 2 to 3 hours.
Mhm.
So that's pretty decent. If you have somebody who's gonna wake up, or two, 3 people who are gonna wake up and
Yeah.
run the stove there. On the smaller side, like the medium stove, you're gonna get 30, 45 minutes. Again, depends on the wood. You could probably get an hour and a half with the right wood, but
Yeah.
wood prep, dampening down the stove, that kind of stuff can help improve burn time. But the thing is, you're using this as for comfort, to dry out your gear, to do all those things.
Mhm.
You aren't using it to stay warm all night. You still got to bring a sleeping bag that's rated for the conditions you're going to be in.
Yeah. And I think there's also more like the U-turn, right? U-turns are going to burn a little bit quicker than the standards because
They're a little less sealed off.
One thing we've both found is the glass door definitely, and this was something that we didn't expect when we first came out with the glass door, but it definitely increases burn time.
Because it's stiffer
Mhm.
and doesn't have any like warp or anything.
Doesn't bow out. Yeah.
Increases burn time.
And I also think, like, I think there's also like some expectations there, right? Like if you're coming from an outfitter tent and you're sleeping in a canvas tent with a cast iron stove in it, cast iron retains that heat. It's going to put the heat out like long after the fire dies down because it just retains that. And then canvas is obviously a lot thicker than steel nylon, so it's going to retain that heat just a little bit longer. So if you're coming from that, it's definitely going to be different. I mean, if you're coming from nothing, I mean,
it's game changing.
Yeah, and the great thing about titanium is that it has a very high heat transfer rate, so that means that it right away.
Truly within 5 minutes of having the fire going, like the tent's hot. You know? Like it's not one of those things where you're waiting. I don't know, like when we had a wood stove at our house growing up, it's like you're waiting 30 minutes to start really actually feeling that warmth, you know? Versus in the tent, it's 5 minutes. Within 15 minutes, the tent is you could get it unbearably hot if you wanted to, you know? Depending on the size of the tent. Like let's take like a Silex. Within 5 minutes, you're like, oh man, it's warm in here. Yeah. It's dry, it's warm, it's good.
Yeah. And on the flip side, once if you have a medium stove in there in the Silex, once that fire goes down, it's going to you're going to have to, put your clothes back on. Yeah. So like why we talk about those smaller stoves is they're more for drying off and for taking the chill off. Shouldn't be like what you said. Still bring a good sleeping bag.
And also like when it's late season, like I just got back from a late season hunt, and like when it's late season, you're going to be in the tent. It's getting dark at 4 o'clock nearly, you know? So, and you're in there 4 to 7, like a long period of time.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have something where, you stoke it, you keep the tent plenty warm, and the burn time is long enough. It's something to do. Rather, you aren't during the late season, you aren't hiking and then just going straight to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who wants to sit in a tent when it's 15 degrees out for hours,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've had it where, if how September, October, I mean, it's almost like too hot at night for the stove. It's more of like a in the morning thing because
Yeah.
at night it's still 50 degrees out.
Yeah.
You get that stove cooking in there, you're getting that tent inside. It's like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
So, and then kind of along those lines, a lot of people talk about wood and, the amount of wood that you have to get. And it's kind of just the same kind of thing. It's very dependent on how you're burning the stove, how hot you want that thing. If you want to keep it cooking all night, then
What
you're gonna
kind
have
of wood, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all just, it's a big variable.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as a tiny campfire in your tent, Like,
Yeah.
If you've had a campfire outside, you know that a few little twigs ain't going to last super long, and then vice versa, a big old log will last some time. So,
Yeah.
what's the next?
Number 3 there.
Number 3.
And so just one more thing, like my favorite type of wood is juniper. Juniper wood, if you can get some of that, if you throw, and I talked about this with during the podcast with KJ from Blackbeard, you get that fired up in there and it makes the tent smell unbelievable because it gets that juniper scent going.
Unfortunately, the ash from it is crazy.
Yeah.
It is. I one time was burning a bunch of dead juniper. That's burn hole central. It is tough.
And you have to get through the initial weird barky layer.
It does burn a long time though.
Yeah.
Number 3, how do bugs do? So like when we're talking like a floor system versus a nest versus floorless.
Mm-hmm.
You want to touch on that?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of
or I guess more like not how to deal with bugs, but like what's more effective for bugs, a floor system, floorless, or the nest?
Yeah. And I wanted to put this in here because I think there's multiple different types of bugs, right? Like if you're talking about just mosquitoes and black flies, the floor system is going to be just as effective. If you're talking about like little critters and stuff like that, mice, floor system is going to be just as effective as a nest. When you get into like ticks and stuff like that, where there's some space for them to crawl in, you probably want to do a nest, especially with like Lyme disease. But honestly, in my experience, they're very similar. I mean, like with the floor system, you got the high walls. Nothing's really going to be climbing in there, especially mosquitoes and stuff like that. Now you probably do want some door screens on the tent, but I don't know. And probably with ticks, the one time that I took a floor system out in Wyoming a couple years back, it was, there was apparently ticks there. We didn't have any issues, but it wasn't like a super high tick area. I mean, maybe just spray it with permethrin, or some bug spray and see how it does.
My thoughts: any flying insects, a nest is going to be superior, just because you have an area that you can unzip and zip really close, like quickly.
Mm.
The floor system, it helps to keep out flying insects until you open the door, and then they're just in your tent, right? And a lot of the times, if you're bringing fire or wood in or running in and out of the shelter, your door is going to be open. Versus with a nest, like a half nest, cimarron half nest, that's what I run a lot. You know that, like, let's say half of the tent is, it's open. There's obviously not a nest there. Insects can be there, and then when you go into your sleeping area, you can just zip. So I prefer a nest for most of the summer stuff. The floors do work, like they kind of help fight off like snakes and scorpions and stuff like that, which is really nice. So,
Yeah.
Like if I was going to do like I wouldn't be afraid to go desert camp, with the floor system versus floorless, which I have done a few times. Like I have woken up with a scorpion under my pad and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's more, it's whatever you do, the most important thing is keeping the door closed.
Yeah.
If that door is closed, I mean, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Whether it's a nest or a floor system, they're going to be kept out.
floorless.
Even that though, like, I don't know, freaking up in Alaska, the first caribou hunt I went on up there. It's like you'd step outside the tent and it was just chaos. Too many bugs, mosquitoes flying everywhere. Get in the tent and it was like the Cimarron that we were using for our little kitchen area didn't have a floor, and we didn't. I mean, there's probably a few that got in, but it wasn't like we were like, oh man, these bugs are so crazy.
It's not as bad. Like, it definitely decreases it.
Yeah.
I find that if you get like flies or like a bee inside the tent, oh man.
Yeah. I think it's also like when bugs are trapped in an area, they just like, if they're flying around, they just automatically go to the top.
That's
and so
true.
they're not really messing with you too much.
Yeah, not
So,
that much. Although I've had nights where a mosquito's been in the tent and you just wake up and you can see it.
yeah,
See the mosquitoes just red.
that's brutal.
Uh,
Yeah, I'll get the next one here for you. Kind of along those same lines, what about flooring underneath without a floor system or without a nest? I think
So like what to do?
a lot of people.
What do you do if you're running it floorless?
Yeah, and a lot of people come and for a while there we didn't make floors for a lot of our smaller shelters and nests. So I think that's kind of where people come to us and they're like, "Oh, what do you do for a floor?"
What I
Obviously,
always tell people is your cheapest option, and I think the most efficient if you're packing it around, is the Fearlessly Floorless ground sheet. So it's like a Tyvek-like material. It's not nearly as loud. It's a lot quieter than Tyvek, but it's pretty underappreciated how nice it is to walk into a floorless shelter with your boots on, and then have everything on that 3x8 Tyvek sheet. You can even bring 2 for just that small weight penalty. Keep all your gear on one sheet, and then keep all your stuff, all your whole sleep system on one area. Because a lot of the times when you're out, it's muddy or it's dirty or dusty, and the floors fill up.
mm-hmm.
That's kind of my biggest thing, is like when if the floor gets muddy, that's extra weight you're packing around, all that kind of stuff. So I like the Tyvek sheets quite a bit for that later season, fall, spring, just because you don't really have to worry about taking your shoes off, or when you're throwing wood into the tent, getting wood everywhere. That's my preference.
Yeah.
The floor systems are awesome, but if I'm going lighter, it's definitely the Tyvek sheets are the best way. And we have a video on YouTube too, like how to tape those together
to make your own floor.
It's a really cost-effective option. Unfortunately, it costs us money we got to make money to stay in business. So when we make those floors and stuff, it's with high-end materials. It takes a sewer here in Colorado to make them. Tyvek sheets, just tape them together and probably have a floor for your Cimarron for $40.
Yeah. You punch a hole in it, you're not worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like $40, and yeah, it's heavier, it's a little bulkier, but
yeah,
it's also $40, and you could just throw it away each year, which is not what I'm telling people to do, but it's not such a big deal if you mess it up,
Yeah. You can also use like when I first started working here for my Cimarron, I had like a tent footprint that I got from REI that was like, I don't know, sil nylon, something like that. It was small. I would use that. You can use a tarp.
Yeah.
The thing I've used a lot for like the bigger shelters is like a canvas drop tarp. They're super nice because you can wash them. They're nice and heavy, so they're not like clumping up or anything like that. You can throw the stove on them. It's a good way for especially the bigger shelters, and like for the courthouse, it's about the perfect size.
And I think one of the nice things with like bringing a tarp or something like that, if you're close to the road or something, or you're not too worried about packability, is you can whatever section you want the tent to be like clean and floorless, you can, and then the other section you just leave open, throw all your stuff over there.
Yeah,
who cares? Yeah, has an advantage to, like, I know some people even use just a tiny like sill tarp, like a Gunnison tarp style thing.
Yep,
that's to sleep on.
Yep.
But I think Tyvek is your best option for the money.
Yeah.
And if you know a contractor or somebody, just hit them up, say I want some Tyvek.
Yeah.
Make a footprint for your 8-man courthouse, all that stuff.
And they make there's a ton of different types of that house wrap. What we Ours are a little bit different because they have almost like a felted side, so your sleeping bag and your pad is not moving around on it. It's not as crinkly.
And it's way quieter, way less slippery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they make other ones they make some of that very fabric-y type house wrap that's also kind of the same thing. So you just get a roll of that, and if you have a couple tents, you could just for $40 make up a floor for all your tents.
Yeah. It's definitely cheap, just cost time.
Yeah. This is a common one. Liner. What is a liner?
A liner.
Mm-hmm.
It is a second wall in your shelter that prevents condensation and increases insulation.
Mm-hmm.
And increases the light inside of the shelter to be more nice.
Yeah. Little morale boost.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to explain over the phone. I feel like that's the hardest thing we have to explain for customer service stuff. But really what it's doing is just blocking any moisture from getting on you or dripping on you in the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's providing that dead air space for there to be a little bit more insulation. They're generally pretty light. Like one for a Cimarron is less than half a pound for a half liner. We do them in halves. So you just cut the tent where the pole is vertically. You got a half and a half, which allows you to run, you can get a full liner for when you're out with your buddy. But if you're running solo, you can just take half a liner or no liner.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I mean, how much do you use a liner? Like on the big tents, I feel like, if I'm close to the truck, I'll throw one in. Like the new shelter we have.
Yeah.
Like it is a no-brainer. Just get the liner on there. It's nice. It's already a heavier shelter, right? But on the lighter stuff, like Cimarron, Red Cliff, if I'm in the west, maybe not the northwest, but I'm just in the more arid areas of the west, I'm not worried about it.
That's my thing too, man. I know people talk about it raining on them and stuff like that in the single walled shelters, and I've been out a lot, and there's always condensation. That's just a fact. I've just never had it.
Yeah, there's always some form. Could be just very small amount, or it can be horrendous. But even that one night we camped by the waterfall.
Yeah.
In a valley. Yeah. And it was cold.
But even that, it's even if it's getting on your sleeping bag a little bit, I've never had it be to the point where it's caused me any issues. Even if it's dripping on your stuff a little bit, I've never been to the point where it's that bad. Now, I do think the insulation, especially now that you can run, on most of our shelters, you can run the floor system with the liner.
That's pretty sweet setup.
I think that's a dialed, that's just ultimate insulation. Now, it's not, it'd be cool if we could throw some freaking aluminum heat reflectant liner in there. It'd be super heavy. But if you're looking for a little bit of extra, that's what you're getting there.
No drafts, all that stuff.
I did want to add just kind of how I explain how the liners work. It's very similar to Gore-Tex. So Gore-Tex, what they use for a lot of waterproofing, the great thing is it's breathable, which means water, when it gets evaporated, it can pass through the little membrane there. But then when it builds up into droplets, that surface tension of the droplets keeps the water out. So it's a very similar concept where the condensation, you obviously can't see condensation until it builds up on the outside wall of the tent. But then when it builds up into drops and you go to open up your zipper, move the tent around, wind comes, rain comes, something like that, and it kind of sprays the water off, that liner is there to protect it from getting on your sleeping bag. So
yeah, there's a lot of reasons to buy a liner. There's a lot of reasons not to. In most of the shelters, it's going to add at least a pound for a full liner.
Mm-hmm.
Pounds equal pain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons to do it as well. There's been times where it'd be nice to have one. If I'm going to Alaska or the P&W or any of that stuff, I'm going to take a liner.
Yeah.
Even probably up in the northern Midwest, I'm going to take a liner. That kind of stuff. Just because it's more humid there. But here, if you know kind of the three basics for condensation, you can get away with a lot in pretty much all, you can winter camp, all that kind of stuff. And if you're running a stove too, and you're going to run it in the morning, it's going to burn all that off pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's campsite selection, not camping in a river bottom, like we said.
Campsite selection, ventilation.
Yep. Camping on dirt.
And then, site selection.
And then setting your tent up, like using the guy outs and stuff. I think that's a lot of it. If you have a big witch hat and the space of your Cimarron is already cut in half.
Yeah.
And then you get some condensation and you're just that much closer to the wall. That's going to make for a much more, it's going to lead to problems. If you have it set up correctly and you got the guy outs rolling and you have nice space there, then you don't have to worry about popping up in the middle of the night and hitting your face on the tent there. So
yeah,
I think that's a huge part. And with the 2.0s, setup is so much easier. Using the guy outs, kind of get rid of all that stuff. So
yeah.
All right, last one here. How do you keep your zipper clean and zipper maintenance? There's a lot of questions we get around that.
Zippers.
Yep.
They are a wear item on any product you have. Pants, tents, backpacks, all that stuff. Zippers wear out. On a teepee, we use the nicest zippers we can source, but they have, if you're pitching your tent really, really tight and it's a little wonky or something and the zipper doesn't close all the way, like, I think that's probably the biggest reason for zipper failure in the first place. Putting too much stress on your zipper. There's a lot of ways to go around that. It's just like maybe, pitching that door area just a little bit. You don't want to be pulling it to where it's like to get it down all the way.
Yeah.
You want it to just zip down, Yeah. I think that's where a lot of our zipper issues come from. And then keeping it clean, like a lot of times I'm camping in dusty, pine duffy, desert, high alpine. I'm all over the place. If you don't zip your zipper the last like 4 inches to the ground,
huge.
While there is an opening in your shelter right there, you're not pulling that zipper pull into the dirt. So there's something there.
Reduces it a lot. Yeah, because a lot of times what happens there, the two reasons, or like the two things that happen to zippers is, number one, either the pull gets, dulled down on the inside there, because it's basically, there's like a point area that puts the teeth together or pulls it apart. That either gets messed up or the zipper teeth, the actual teeth that combine together, get worn down. And one of the big things is if you get like a little piece of sand or a little pebble in that zipper pull, you just think about that, like you're
wearing it down.
Yeah,
it's like if you had a little bit of dirt in your underpants hiking around.
Yeah,
eventually it's gonna wear you out.
It is gonna wear that underwear down for sure.
But yeah, zippers
Good
are
analogy.
Zippers are just wear item, and there's those couple things. Just keep them clean. Don't use like a lube. Lube tracks dirt.
Yeah.
If you're using it in a clean environment, lube's great. But
yeah,
in an environment such as the outdoors where there's dirt, not great.
That's funny because I was gonna say, if you treat your zipper like a pack raft zipper, you should be good, except for the lube. Don't lube it up.
Exactly. Literally, just think of your zipper as a pack raft zipper. I see, I do it myself too. Like where you pull the door and you yank it instead of actually pulling the zipper pull to open it. That's just putting wear on everything. Right?
Yeah.
Unnecessary wear. The great thing is we are a amazing business that does repairs. So
we do.
If you ever need a repair, can totally do that.
Yeah. Personal repairs, you send that thing in to us. Most of the time we replace the whole thing. It's not like we're just going in there and fixing individual teeth. We typically replace the whole thing. It's very cheap, under $50 usually. And then you have another good zipper for years to come. So definitely send that in 2 to 3 weeks turnaround time, typically. And that goes for all repairs. That's the great thing about being made right here in Grand Junction. Instead of getting a whole new tent and having to pay for the new tent.
Having to pay a seamstress to put some obscure zipper in.
Yep.
Waiting
6 weeks, just send it in to us. We got you.
Yeah.
You want to hit that last one? Sorry, I forgot to pass it off to you the last time.
Dyneema.
That's probably our number one question, especially now that we don't sell it consistently.
Yeah.
Um,
It's been many years since we've sold
Yeah.
it consistently.
yeah, it's a rabbit hole. It's just like the tent fabric rabbit hole, and we've done some podcasts on it. But Dyneema is, I think the analogy that we all use. Dyneema is a Ferrari, whereas Sil Nylon, Toyota Tacoma, or Tundra, Chevy Silverado, whatever you want to call it, they're all reliable.
Yeah.
Gonna run to 300,000 miles, whereas that Ferrari, you're taking that thing out and you gotta take it to some special place to change the oil, and you gotta drive it a certain way. You gotta warm it up. I've never driven a Ferrari, so I'm just bullshitting here, but I would assume that's probably what it's like. But no, like Dyneema, and there's multiple different kinds. So some companies, they use the lighter stuff. We use the heavier stuff, more durable. So there's that whole part, just like Sil Nylon. There's different kinds of Sil Nylon. There's different parts of Sil Poly. We use what we think is the most durable Dyneema out there. It's also, if you're running it in a hot tent, you need it to be, it can't just shred immediately when it gets a burn hole on there. That being said, Dyneema has a much quicker wear process, especially if you don't take care of it. The benefits, typically we recommend you roll it instead of just stuff it up. You don't want to store it in the garage where it gets hot and then cold. It's harder to patch, stuff like that. You can't just seam seal on it. With Sil Nylon seam seal, you have to get a special tape. So it's a much more, you just have to take more care of it.
Yeah.
That being said, it's lighter. It doesn't stretch at all. If it gets a hole in it, it's got a much higher tear strength than basically any other ultralight fabric out there.
Yeah.
So it is comfortable and it's awesome.
If you have the tape, it's also easier to patch, comparatively to like nylon.
That is true.
Or poly or whatever it is. Just because you like silicone coated fabrics are going to be your strongest fabrics. So a sil nylon, sil both sides, that kind of stuff. But you can't really tape to it. Tape doesn't really stick well. So generally you have to either sew a patch on or tape and seam seal, kind of like using an adhesive. Dyneema, you can just put a patch over really quickly, which is quite nice, just a tape on there. Yeah, I guess talking about Dyneema, it's very high performance fabric. Like if you were to ask what somebody would want to sleep in, if you just did like a test versus all the ultralight materials out there, then put them in a Dyneema tent, all the tents were the same, just made out of different materials, you're gonna have the best experience in a Dyneema.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna move very much in the wind. It's not gonna be very loud. Zero stretch, any of that stuff. It's probably gonna withstand some pretty heavy storms, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Negatively, like Ryan said, when you do fold it or pack it away, you're putting a crease in a laminate. Go ahead and get a laminated piece of paper and fold it up a bunch of times.
That's a good way to put it.
Eventually holes are going to start to, the creases are going to start to weaken that fabric and the waterproofing and all that kind of stuff. And then you got, UV resistance, all that kind of stuff that Dyneema is just going to wear out a little sooner with. However, it is going to be the fanciest of the fancy. It's going to be the one you want to daily drive. Unfortunately, if you daily drive it a ton, it's gonna wear out sooner.
Yeah, I mean, and like on a red cliff, right?
But
standard red cliff, 5 pounds 3 ounces. Dyneema, 2 pounds. Yeah, 2 pounds 14 ounces, something like that. I mean, I don't care what kind of weight savings you're going for. 2 pounds is a lot.
And when we talk about it wearing out, it's not like, oh, you're gonna wear it out in a season.
Yeah.
People are wearing out Dyneema on through hikes, where they might set up the tent 300 different times or something like that,
That'd be a lot.
But like in a use, and that's in like the lighter weight material, the lighter weight stuff. So like in our stuff, there's people, easily you can get, I think 5 years of pretty heavy use out of it. And if you're just a guy who's hunting 3 seasons a year, a couple times in the summer, like you're probably gonna get 10 years out of the tent as long as you take care of it.
Yeah.
That was still nylon, like our nylon. You can hand it down to your, kids.
Yeah.
Like the tent's gonna last as long as you keep the tent alive.
Mm-hmm.
The fabric is not gonna just excessively wear unless you leave it outside for
Mm-hmm.
a year and a half. Even then, we have tents like that they're just still fine.
Good to go.
That's a little different color. So yeah, and then as far as the Dyneema available, we do special drops.
Yeah, so we have a wait list. If you want Dyneema, just call us, give us your name, your phone number. Typically, like, I think we're going to do the next one in between like January and March or April or somewhere around there. It's kind of initial thoughts. We'll give you a call when those are ready. If your name's on the list, we'll give you like 10 to 12 days to place the order, and then it's typically 10 to 14 weeks for us to make them. So, you're looking at, if you want one right now, you're kind of SOL. If you're looking for one for next season, this is the time to get on that Dyneema wait list. We should definitely be able to have some to you by that time. And
a lot of the reason why it takes so long are two things. One, it's hard to get fabric from Dyneema.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get the tape, all that stuff that we tape the seams with. So we're on a time constraint with them. And then also, order minimum. We gotta hit those.
Yeah.
So,
and they make a great product. Sometimes they're not always the easiest to get fabric from, but that's all right because a lot of people want it. So
yeah, and we love it too. I mean, I've used. I'm not exclusively a Dyneema guy, but I have a Dyneema Cimarron, and we have a shop Dyneema Redcliffe. I took those out for most of my hunts this year, and then some other prototype gear, and they just work.
Sick.
And they pack a little bit bigger than nylon or poly, but they are just lightweight.
Yeah, and one of the big things is they don't absorb water. Like, still nylon, still poly, no matter what it is, it's going to absorb some water. Like, we proved that in the test that we did. Dyneema, I guess unless the laminate is cracked or something like that,
but
it's basically impossible.
Even then the fabric won't take on water.
Yeah, so you're not, like, no matter what, it's not going to be heavier hiking out than it was hiking in. Condensation, absorbing in there, you don't have to worry about. You can pretty much,
like, if you talk to, like, ultralight hikers and stuff, like, the reason I have a Dyneema tarp is if it rains, you just go, and then all the water's off.
Yeah.
And it's the same weight as it was.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And that's why we make a lot of the Possibles pouches. Oh, we are probably another product drop here. Stay tuned. We might have some smaller flat rolls like we had talked about earlier coming out here soon. That'll be another one of those things that keep an eye on. Perfect Christmas gift for people.
Yeah.
Well, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you got anything else to add, we're at close to an hour here, so we should probably get on to the interview.
As if it wasn't for that 30-minute fluff you hit him with in the beginning.
Yeah, had to, even though we do all that stuff on Instagram. It's fun to talk about. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys enjoy the interview with KJ from Blackbeard here. And we'll see you guys. Have a happy holidays if you guys don't tune in before the next one. And if that's the case, we'll see you after the new year.
Yeah.
If not, enjoy your time and
Peace.
Welcome to the Seek Outside podcast. Thanks for sticking with us for the interview portion. Today we got a fun guest on. We got KJ Thompson from Blackbeard Fire Starters. Just a little intro here. So, obviously you guys listeners probably know us for the tents and stoves and backpacks. We make all that stuff. We're very selective with the products that we bring on to like retail for other people. They have to be very specific. They have to go hand in hand with what we sell. For anybody that has maybe seen them on the website, we sell silky saws. In our opinion, that's the best hand saw out there. Well, that's why we brought on Blackbeard Fire Starters. we got the Blackbeard fire starter stuff on the website. It's an awesome brand. I'm sure some of you guys have probably seen them on Instagram, YouTube. They're the fire starters that, they have one that kind of looks like an earplug, and then one that kind of looks like one of the ropes that you climb in gym class. And it's fire starters. People pour water on them, get them sparked right up. They're waterproof. They are awesome. The plugs burn for an insane amount of time. And the best thing is they're very lightweight. So, we got KJ on. Hopefully that was a good intro for you, but I'll let you take over with the rest on kind of like what you do for Blackbeard and how you got there.
Yeah, so it's like you said, Blackbeard fire starters. Everything we make at Blackbeard, we created and designed everything with the thought of mind that this needs to work in the worst possible scenario. So that being said, everything we make at Blackbeard is waterproof, it's wind resistant, it has an extremely long shelf life, and it's just made to perform, when it's snowing, when it's raining, when you're in high elevations, when you're in high humidity areas of high humidity, stuff like that. Because if it will perform in all those conditions, then it'll definitely work for you like on a normal sunny day.
Yeah. That's perfect, because that's how we think about product design as well. It's like if it can survive, a 60 mile an hour gust and, a foot and a half of snow or something like that, it's going to work for 90% of the time that you're out there. Because especially camping and what most people do, you're not, and hopefully you're not seeing those extreme conditions where you drop your backpack in the creek and everything gets submerged and you got to go back in the tent and get warmed up, and maybe you had a fire starter in there, maybe you had some tissues or something that you're gonna spark up. Well, those are done now. That's why the Blackbeard stuff is great. And so this is probably going to be coming out the first week of December. So people that are listening may have seen it, but we did some reels where and we were kind of talking about it before the podcast here, where we had to try it for ourselves, because you see the videos on Instagram of people submerging the plugs in a cup of water and then sparking them right back up, and you're like, you believe it, but you also kind of got something that crazy and that counterintuitive, I guess you got to see for yourself. So it was awesome to just see how they work, and been running them for this last season, which is awesome. And yeah, can't speak highly enough about them. KJ, what do you do for Blackbeard there? Did you create the company or?
Yes. So me and my brother, aka my business partner, we started Blackbeard Fire back in 2019. And so, back when we started in 2019, me and him basically did everything. We did all the emails, we did the marketing, we did manufacturing, we did order fulfillment, just everything. Now it's kind of gotten to a place where we've grown quite a bit. Now I'm more so on the back end side, doing all the administrative work, just kind of overseeing the shop and manufacturing and stuff like that. I'm not so much hands-on with manufacturing, but I do oversee all of it. Yeah, that's what I do. My brother, he's more into like the marketing, the ads and stuff, purchasing of the ads, for example, like on Facebook, where a lot of the listeners probably saw our ads, Facebook or Instagram. But yeah, we're still very hands-on. I mean, we still are a very small business, but we have grown quite a bit as a small business. So it's to the point where we still have our hands in everything, but at the same time, we're kind of guiding everything from the outside, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty hard, especially it sounds like you guys kind of started by making the product yourself. Like, I guess that's a good thing we can jump into right off the bat, because you guys are all kind of like us, made in the U.S. And you were telling me beforehand that you guys try to source everything here in the States as well, which I can imagine is very hard. How did you guys get going down the path of like fire starters specifically, and how what did that look like the prototyping and like figuring out what worked? And I mean, did you guys just take one of those ropes that you climb in gym class and douse it in wax and see if it burnt?
Bring back memories, man. No, well, so how we started, it took a lot of trial and errors, to be honest. And the whole reason why we came up with the Blackbeard fire starters is we're here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and being in the state of Utah, it's kind of different from the rest of the country. And what I mean by that is 1 hour you can be up in the mountains, and just an hour away you can be in like Red Rock Desert. Like it's two totally different climates. And so we wanted a fire starter that would work no matter where you are. Now, natural stuff, natural fire starters, out in the wild stuff, like birch bark, stuff like that. That's awesome and that's amazing. But we wanted something, if we're in the desert, we're not going to have all that stuff. If we're in the mountains, we're not going to have what we had in the desert in the mountains. We wanted something that would be universal, something that's going to work no matter what, no matter the climate, it'll just work. And we can pack that. And that way, we have the peace of mind. No matter what, when we go out, we're going to be able to start a fire. Not like, oh, if I find this material, I'll be able to start a fire. Or if this condition is right, I'll be able to, what I mean? We don't want to rely on any of that. We wanted something that would take all the guesswork completely out of it. So it's like a fire guaranteed. But yeah, that's how we got the Blackbeard fire starter originally started. How we figured out how to do it, man, it was a lot of trial and error. It was crazy, man. At the time, my brother was living in an apartment on the 3rd floor, and we were actually trying to do this out of his apartment. And so, and at the time too, we also had our full-time jobs that we were at. So we'd go to our full-time jobs all day. And then at nighttime, we'd just be all night long. We'd just be like experimenting, trial and erroring different combinations of materials and seeing what would work, what didn't work. And it took like a solid amount of time for us to finally get the Blackbeard fire starter nailed down to where we wanted it, to where it would work no matter what. It was waterproof. It had the shelf life that it did. And so yeah, I guess the long way to answer your question, or the short way to answer your question, is just a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, that's crazy doing it with like in the apartment on the 3rd floor. I mean, I can't imagine, like, you didn't have like a fire pit or anything, I would assume. So how were you testing things there? Yeah,
so we kept, like, luckily with the Blackbeard fire starter, it's a fire tinder, right? So it takes like your initial your initial ignition from your ignition source, like a lighter or match or a ferro rod, and it carries that to your firewood. So because it's fire tinder, we didn't have to make too crazy big of fire, so we were able to keep it fairly under controlled. That it really got it once it really started getting tricky. Once we figured out the Blackbeard fire starter, and once we started like making it like in big batches, that's where it started getting tricky. Because at the time we were still using his apartment to do it, so we were getting all of our materials. We were hauling it up 3 flights of stairs, making it, then we'd, package it, and then we'd have to go ship it out. So we'd have to haul it all back down the 3 flights of stairs. It was a lot of work, but it was fun though. It's fun looking back and seeing where we came from, and, just seeing how far, we were able to take a simple idea. And then you mentioned earlier too, something that we're super proud of is not only are Blackbeard fire starters made in America, but they're made by Americans, and they're made with all American materials and ingredients. So that's something that we're extremely proud of, and something in 2025, that's pretty rare nowadays.
Definitely. Oh, and especially like a fire starter, right? I mean, you think of that and you look at your product and you're like, oh yeah, you can submerge it in water. There's got to be like all these crazy chemicals in there, right? But they're non-toxic, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So they're non-toxic, and we get that comment a lot. Are they toxic? A lot of people think because they're black, they must have some kind of tar or something crazy. But they're very non-toxic. I mean, you can touch it, rub it in your hands. It doesn't turn your hands black. It doesn't leave residue on your hands. Honestly, you could eat it. It's not going to give you any nutritional value, but you could literally eat the thing. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. It's cool. What was your, like, so growing up, and like, were you a big like bushcrafter? Were you just a camp, like weekend warrior camping? Like, what put you in the situation to where you needed to create a fire starter to suit your needs?
Yeah. So growing up, we did a lot of, we were big into scouting in the scouting program. And so we were always doing camps, like scouting campouts, usually once a month, with all the other youth in the neighborhood. And it was just a blast, man. Like so much fun and this is like from the age of like 12 all the way up till 18. Yeah. It's like once a month.
And this is like Boy Scout.
Boy Scout. Yeah. The Boy Scout. Yeah.
Okay.
The Boy Scouting program. And so once a month we were going camping, and, as a Boy Scout, it's, you're doing the fire, and it's always like, when it comes to scouting and fire, it's always a big joke, like they call it the Boy Scout juice, to get the fire, like AKA gasoline.
Okay.
But like in scouts though, like there was never, even though we did scouting and scouting was great, there was never like a real good answer to start a fire, that, I mean, you did the flint and steel stuff, but I mean, the flint and steel, like you'd have to get down on your knees, like in the dirt, you'd be huddled over this little thing, your little pile of tinder, just striking this flint and steel. You finally get an ember to go, and you basically have to baby it and, blow it and take care of it, and, eventually turn it into a flame eventually. But it's just like, man, like this is hard on a clear summer night. Like I can't imagine doing this in the rain, or doing it when your hands are cold and you're losing dexterity in your limbs. So yeah, that's kind of like, this, we need to create something, that's easy to use, that you can use when it, like, you need it, and something that you're not like huddled over and trying to get it to work. We wanted something that would just work.
Yeah. So. I think that's a very, like, that's another reason why we reached out to you guys, is it's just so perfect for what we do, is specifically like with the hot tents and the wood stoves. There's lots of fire starters out there. I forever used like the tumbleweed ones, where it's like the big batch of like waxy, it looks like straw or something like that. You kind of break it apart, and they're great. They burn, but they, like, specifically for like backpacking and backpack hunting or summer camping, they take up so much space, which is fine when you're car camping. But I mean, a lot of times, some of the times for like to start a fire in our tent stoves, because they are in a confined area, I feel like sometimes you need a little bit more. Unlike starting a fire just on the ground, there's all this airflow through there. There's just a few more complications you run into when you're trying to start it in like a small confined space like that, without just like a natural draw. Mm-hmm. So I found myself a lot of times using like a lot of that. You bring 2 or 3 of them, and if every time you have to start a fire, you're using 2 or 3 of those, it's just not a feasible option for backpacking. Yeah. Thing I love about, like, especially the fire plugs, and we did some kind of testing today, just promotion for the Black Friday stuff. The fire plugs, they're tiny, and we weighed the whole package. It's like, I think it was half a pound maybe at the max, maybe 5 or 6 ounces, something like that, for I don't know, what are there, 50 fire plugs in there, something like that. But they burn one of those fire plugs, and this is even after we submerged it in a cup of water for like 3 minutes, cut it in half, broke it up. It burned for like 6 minutes. Yeah. Which is an extremely long burn time for something like that. And I just think about it when you're trying to start a fire in the middle of November or December. You probably have some wet wood. A lot of our customers are going up when the weather's gnarly, and it's not ideal. It's not like you can pick up a thing of wood from the gas station and hike it up the mountain with you. They're so perfect for that. The Blackbeard fire starter, I think it was 0.3 pounds. So I think it was, less than 3 ounces
Yeah.
For a big, long thing. And you can use that forever. I mean, you can start, I don't know, you probably start 20 or 30 fires from that thing. You probably know more.
Yeah.
But,
It's 55 grams. And honestly, like guys like yourself and your audience, they'll get way more than 20 or 30 fires. They'll get, anywhere from 50, even more than 50 easily.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I haven't even gotten close to using all the stuff you sent us, but yeah. So I think it's uniquely perfect for like the backpacking, and especially the hot tents and stoves, because they burn so long. What's kind of the trick to? I mean, you don't have to give away your trade secrets, but what is the thing that makes them waterproof? Is it kind of like that waxy coating that sits on the end, or is it a specific chemical or whatever you want to call it?
So I can't get too much into the details, but it all lies with our special blend of oils and waxes.
Okay.
But that's what makes it waterproof. And then the cool thing about Blackbeard fire starters is if you want them to burn, like if you need it to burn faster or if you need it to burn slower, it's all how you process it, right? So for example, you mentioned something with the stoves. There's not a lot of airflow in there. Fire is very interesting. It follows science to a T, right? So fire, it needs oxygen to survive. So if you were to open up a Blackbeard fire starter and you were to take a lighter and light it and just hold the Blackbeard fire starter underneath the lighter, you could do that for 30 seconds. The thing will not light because there's no oxygen. The fibers are so tightly wound that there's no oxygen in there. But once you start fluffing those fibers, what you do is you introduce oxygen into the mix, creates a nice fluffy pillow for that spark or flame to land on. It'll light right up. And so, when you're doing the fire plugs, if you get rained on, or the Blackbeard fire starter, if you get rained on, you get snowed on, everything around you is damp, and you need your flame to last a little bit longer. Fluff up just a little bit, get that lit, and let the flame work through the rest of the fire plug or the fire starter, because there's no oxygen in there, so it's going to have to work harder and it's going to have to burn longer to get through there. Versus if you want a faster flame, like something to light up super easy, fluff that thing all the way up, expose all those fibers, add as much oxygen as you can to that fire starter, and it'll light right up.
Yeah. So, that is interesting. Did you find that you kind of like turned into like a physics geek, I guess, in the process of learning and physics and chemistry while you were learning about trying to make these?
It's I don't want to bore you, but it's super interesting. And my brother, he knows even way, I only know like the surface level stuff. He knows like way deeper, like every little like scientific law about fire and like how it works and like all the materials and ingredients, like the components that we use. Like he knows like all the laws and how they interact with each other. It's fascinating. It's really cool.
Yeah, because I've tried to like kind of make some of my own beforehand. Like everybody kind of knows the Vaseline and cotton ball trick, which, to be honest, I tried that one time and I didn't have the best of luck. I might have like messed up the ratio or something like that. But I've also like done things like submerged coffee filters in certain oils and stuff like that. And I've just never, I don't know. It seems like maybe I've messed up like the density of those oils, or like it seems like you have to get kind of like specifically with the coffee filters. I found that if I left like one corner of the coffee filter dry, like with no oil or anything, they would spark up. But if I was just trying to like light the oil directly, it never lit as quickly and easily as I wanted to. So it seems like there's got to be like a perfect ratio of like actual combustible material and the fuel. But I don't know. I mean, is that fair to say?
No, you're 100% right, and that's why it took us so long to finally figure out the Blackbeard fire starter, finally figure out those materials and ingredients that we use, and get that mixture exactly perfect for what we're doing. You did bring up a good point though, like about the mixture and also homemade stuff. Like homemade stuff is great. I'm not knocking it at all. But the thing is, like once you like put in, like once you calculate all your time and like effort and money that you put into like buying a bag of cotton balls, buying a jar of Vaseline, you know, going to and from the store to get that, and then making it, you know, it's like once you know, calculate all your time, you know, all of a sudden that bag of homemade fire starter isn't as cheap as you thought it was. So that was like another thing with the Blackbeard fire starter. We wanted to make it not only bulletproof, but also affordable, so people can like start saving their time and using their time towards things that they want to do, you know, instead of making like these greasy, sticky fire starters, you know, taking, you know, however much time it takes to run to the store, grab the ingredients, come back home, make them, you know, store them, do all that stuff. We just get a Blackbeard fire starter. You got it. Just throw it in your glove box, throw it in your pack, throw it in your side by side, wherever, and you're good to get, like, no extra time. You don't even have to think about it.
That is the other surprising thing, especially being like made in the States. I mean, the cost is nothing, especially compared to some of the fire starters out there. I mean, you know, some of the gels, and, you know, you're looking at $15-$20 for a little jar, and, you know, it doesn't have the same functionality and ease of use and like packability that the Blackbeard stuff has. So yeah, that's a good point. I did want to talk about the arc lighter. So I had never really messed with one of those beforehand. For people that might not know, it's essentially just like an electric, you know, it creates an electrical current. You do have to be careful if you're lighting things around water, because we did get shocked a little bit because we basically put it in this puddle. But what are some of the benefits, and maybe explain some of the science behind those for people that don't know?
Yeah, so the arc lighter is an awesome option over a traditional Bic lighter. The number one reason why arc lighters are so much better than a Bic lighter is because arc lighters are waterproof. You can get them wet and they will still work. The other thing is they are windproof. So if you're to light an arc lighter, you can blow as hard as you want against that arc lighter. It's 2 arcs of electricity going across 4 prongs, and however hard you blow, you cannot blow those arcs of electricity off. You cannot blow them out because it's electricity. It's not a flame. Whereas a Bic, you know, if it's windy, you know, you've got a cup around that Bic to, you know, protect that flame, because it's, you know, it's just burning the fuel that's in the lighter. And so that's 2 advantages right there. The other one is elevation. So the arc lighter is not going to be deterred by any elevation. With Bic lighters, you start to get into super high elevations. They will not work up there in high elevations. Another thing that makes the arc lighter special is it's rechargeable. So it's just like a cell phone. It comes with a USB-C charger, so like the same as the iPhone. You just plug that in, it charges for about an hour and a half, and then from there, you're good to go with like 300 ignites. And so you just charge that, you know, every so often, then you're good to go. You never run out of lighter fluid or anything like that.
Yeah, I see that as a huge benefit, because even first off, I've never had any luck with any of the flick lighters aside from Bic.
Yeah,
you know, it seems like that's like the only brand you can buy. Like any of the other ones, it just seems like they, you know, with a little bit of temperature change, or maybe a little bit of elevation, they just quit working. You know, you'll buy a brand new pack of lighters, throw a couple in the pack, and then you go up and it's 15 degrees at night. They're not working unless you have a Bic. I've had pretty good luck with Bic, but I have noticed that, I mean, you submerge that thing, you're toast. I've never experienced the elevation, but I mean, I see that as being a huge benefit. And so, like, do you guys, because I would see the kind of the downside to anything battery charged, the downside would be, you know, loses charge quicker. I mean, a lot of things lose charge quicker in the cold. Is that kind of the same concept, the arc lighter, or
yes?
What have you seen there?
Yeah, so it does have a lithium ion battery. So of course, it will be affected by the temperature. However, if you're out, you know, doing what you're doing, hiking, camping, hunting, you know, out in the frigid cold, you know, what you want to do, instead of just having that in like on the outside of your pack or, around your neck, just put it in your pocket. If it's in your pocket next to your body, it'll be fine. I mean, think of like your cell phone, if you, on a winter day, if you go set your cell phone outside on your car, for an hour and then pick it up and try to use it, it's not going to work. However, if it stays in your pocket, next to your body and it stays somewhat warm, it'll work just fine. So that's one way around that. So it does have a battery. So there is the chance that it could fail, but how we see it is it's got a lot more pros than cons to it, especially over the Bic lighters. And don't get me wrong, Bic lighters are great. They're amazing. And like you mentioned, if you're going to get like a traditional lighter, Bic is the way to go. All the other ones, for some reason, they just seem to be just El Cheapos and they don't work for whatever reason. Bics work great. Yeah. However, the arc lighter, it's a step above. It works even better. Where the Bics fail, the arc lighter continues.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I've had such bad luck with lighters, and especially with like I had mentioned, kind of with the hot tents and stoves. I mean, you're trying to light wet wood all the time, especially if you're backpacking. And, that's always such a hassle. What I kind of had reverted to, because, you stand there with 20 seconds with a Bic, the metal starts to heat up, and then you burn your finger and you got to put it down for 30 seconds. And then in that time, your fire goes out. I went to a local head shop actually, and like where they sell tobacco products and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I got one of those smaller like butane lighters that you can light a cigar with. And it actually works pretty well. The downside is, you have to fill it up with butane all the time, basically every trip. I see the arc lighter as kind of being the replacement for that, because you can sit there for a while and it catches things on fire like so quickly. Yeah. Just in our little testing and experience with it seems to do like with such a little point of contact where it's lighting things as opposed to like a Bic lighter. Mm-hmm. It seems like it is just as effective, if not more effective. I don't know if that's anything with like the currents or something like that, or maybe it was just perfect circumstances that we had, but it seems like that's probably going to be the replacement for that butane lighter for me, at least.
Yeah. And another thing too, I forgot to mention, I don't know if you've ever been out when it starts snowing or raining and your hands get cold. When your hands get wet and cold, it is extremely difficult to flick that little lighter and make that little wheel roll to create that spark on a Bic. Especially, once you start getting really cold and things start getting dangerous, you lose all the dexterity in your fingers. It is so hard to get that thing to, especially when your hands are wet too. Your thumb's all slippery and you just can't get that wheel to get that spark that you need. Whereas the arc lighter is just a button, so you're not forced to spin the wheel on the mechanism, create the spark, and then depress the gas lever to release the butane.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's a good point too. You guys also have waterproof matches.
Yes.
Which in my previous experience, I've had those before, and they're not waterproof at all. I've had a lot of problems with those. We tested yours today, and they actually held up. Do you guys do anything different without getting into the formulas and stuff like that actually make them truly waterproof, or what's the concept there?
So, quick question: How did you guys test them? Just out of curiosity.
Took one of the matches and submerged it in the cup of water and sparked right up.
Nice. Okay, I want you to try this test when we're done. Take the same match, light it, get that glass of water. Once it's lit, put it in the water and then pull it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're gonna be blown away, man. And then there's another one you can do too. Go find some like dirt or mud, some loose dirt, light that match and go bury it in the dirt, bury it good, and then pull it out after a few seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we'll have to do that.
Yeah, those things are the real deal, man. Like By far the funnest part of Blackbeard Fire is testing everything. Just because, like,
I can imagine.
We get a lot of comments on social media all the time, and like it just like gives us such good ideas. Like, oh, you should do this. You should do this. Does it work with this? And it's awesome because, like, you know what? Let's test it. There's only one way to find out, and so we test it, and it's just such a blast. But yeah, so they're going to be waterproof. But the real power in those matches is, for example, if it was snowing, if you were in a flood, everything is soaking wet, you light that sucker up, it is not going out until it, burns itself out, which takes anywhere from 20 to 25 seconds, depending on like wind or how much oxygen it's consuming. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you can submerge it in water, you can bury it in dirt, it's going to stay lit for you, almost like a little mini road flare.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And like, I guess just to reiterate, I feel like I've bought those before at the, they even have like the weatherproof matches, which are supposed to be like windproof at City Market. And they just, or grocery store, whatever grocery store you go to, they never work. Mm-hmm. And so it was pretty shocking to see. That was like probably the one thing that I had the most pause about, like when we got the stuff from you guys, was I was like, they're probably decent, but in my experience, those water/weatherproof matches that I've used, they'll go for a second, but then they'll terminate pretty quickly. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see. It's just, I keep saying this, I'll probably seem like I'm fanboying out, but I'm just impressed that the stuff works as advertised.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's owning Blackbeard Fire is very satisfying when people actually take our stuff and put it to the test, and and they're like, okay, it actually works. It's like, it's awesome to hear it.
Yeah. What's your fire kit look like? Like, do you have certain items that you always keep in the car, that you always keep in your camping stuff? Like, what's your go-to setup there?
Yeah, so my fire kit, I like so how I've got it set up is I've got one full Blackbeard fire starter, which is the black stick or the rope, and then I've got a bunch of loose plugs. I don't take the whole bag of 50 just because, like, I don't need 50 fires, even though I've got the stick. But I just take like 2 or 3 of the loose plugs, throw it in my little kit, my little bag. I keep a Bic lighter, I keep an arc lighter, and I keep a ferro rod in there. And that's what I've got.
That's your go-to.
That's my go-to, and it's in that small little bag, and so it fits anywhere. I've got one in all of my cars, and I've got one in my 72-hour kit, and then all of my packs too. That my hunting pack, camping pack, all that.
Do you ever find yourself using the ferro rod? Because ferro rods are fun, in my opinion, but I've never, and I have one in my kit in my bag here, but I've never found myself, I just throw like 3 or 4 lighters in, and maybe that's the downside. Maybe that's why I should rely on a ferro rod, so that if I, one of the lighters goes out, I can just jump over to the ferro rod. But I've just never found myself needing it. Do you find yourself using it with the arc lighter and the Bic lighter, or is it kind of just there as like last resort, or just kind of like a fun side project? Because it is fun to start a fire with a ferro rod, that's for sure.
For sure, yeah, it's absolutely satisfying to do with the ferro rod because you created that fire all by yourself. Yeah, to answer your question, I do have it there as a last resort. However, I use my ferro rod more often than not because I have small kids, and I'm always trying to teach them how to start a fire. And so when we do start a fire, it's a fun thing for them to use, and it's a good thing for them to learn that skill. And so if it was just me personally, I would just be using the lighter just to get it done quick. But because I have small kids, I'm trying to teach them, how to use this tool, how to start a fire. I'm trying to teach them these skills. So more often than not, that's what gets used. And so when we're doing fires, we always use the ferro rod. However, when we have birthdays at my house or anything like that, the kids love lighting the candles with the arc lighter. It's like that. That's like their favorite thing to do is get the arc lighter and light the candles with the arc lighter.
I bet. But you probably can't probably not lighting the birthday candles with a ferro rod anytime.
That's a good video. That's a good video idea. I mean, we should try it.
Would be. Might not be able to eat the cake afterwards because it's just
covered in
sprinkled. Yeah, you got black sprinkles on there.
Yeah, tons of leftover ferrocium on there. Yeah. No, but like ferro, they're so much fun though. And then, like honestly, they take a little bit of practice. You know, not everyone can just pick up a ferro rod and just spark up a fire on the first try. It does take a little bit of practice, but it's like one of those things, like riding a bike. Once you get the technique and the form, it then becomes super easy. And then not only that, like I mentioned before, it's super satisfying just pulling that, that workhorse ferro rod out, just striking a fire, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So do you have like take Blackbeard out of it, right? Before, like, did you have a favorite way to start fires beforehand, just out of natural materials? And if so, what was that?
Oh man, honestly, I didn't really have a favorite way to start it. I had a lot of ways that failed, to be honest. I remember, lighting fires at home, during the wintertime in our fireplace, and we'd always use newspaper. And this was, let me think, this is like 20 years ago when newspaper was still a thing, right? And it was crazy because like I'd always have to get balls of newspaper, ball it up, put it in there, you light it. The whole fireplace is ablaze for like 10 seconds. Next thing you know, there's no fire, no wood is lit on fire, and there's just a bunch of ash everywhere. So I newspaper was always my go, and I had to just keep repeating the newspaper until it finally lit. I had no better way. Let's see. I really didn't have a good way. A lot of times at scout camp, what we do is we just use like paper plates, like the trash from, the meal, before, just light a paper plate. That was kind of the same as newspaper though. It'd light up great, but it'd go out just as fast. I want to say gasoline, but like that's super dangerous, right? Super, super dangerous. But so, that being said, we never really did that too much because obviously, when you're out camping, you got to be responsible. You're not just like in a big open field with nothing fun. You got stuff around, you have to be responsible. But yeah, I don't, to answer your question, I didn't really have a favorite way to start a fire. I guess whatever way worked was my favorite way.
Yeah. That's a good point though. Like all those things that you mentioned, you can apply it to like camping and our wood stoves. The downside to all that stuff, the cardboard, the newspaper, even like pine duff and like dry grass that you find around. The downside is exactly what you were saying. It sparks up, but then it creates like this layer of ash down at the bottom. And the next time you go to start your fire up, and it's kind of more specific, if you have a fire pit, it's one thing because you have a lot of space, but in like one of our stoves, you go to spark that thing up and, you put your little ball of kindling in there and it just sinks to the bottom of this pile of ash. And then it reduces the amount of oxygen that can get in there and makes it so much harder to start it up. What I've found with just fire starters in general, and I think your guys's specifically, is if you have that one main source that burns for a long time and burns just hot enough to get your initial kindling going, it cleans the whole process up and you don't have to worry about that ash and all those embers. And then not to mention, like if you are in a tent, if you have a newspaper or cardboard or something that you're putting in there, and say you put like a wet log or something like that in there, all those hot embers go, makes it pop and then they fly out of the chimney, and that's how you get burn holes in your tent. So I do think the fire starter way is kind of especially for our stuff, it's the most efficient, safe way to get your fire going. And I guess like maybe this kind of leads into another thing. Like there's a lot of fire starters out there, especially some of the jellies and super coated things. They leave like a crazy gelatinous residue either at the bottom or, in your chimney, just kind of gets all that stuff in there, makes it harder to burn a fire, constricts the airflow out of there. Your guys it seems like they don't put off any residue at all. I mean, I've never found like a little spot at the bottom of the stove or anything like that. Is that what you guys have seen too?
Yeah. And if you light a Blackbeard fire starter by itself without putting your kindling on top of it, you'll notice too the Blackbeard fire starter itself will burn super, super clean. There's not a lot of it. It burns very clean. And the other part of that,
there's like no smoke.
Yeah, it's very clean. And the other part of that too is you just need a little bit. A little bit goes a really long way. Versus like the newspaper, dryer lint, all that other stuff. You need a lot of that to create, what you need to get your fire started. Whereas the Blackbeard fire starter, you just need a very small piece of it, and it'll get your fire going. So, I mean, even if it were to stay in the bottom, it's very, very minimum. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, luckily it does. The base is 100% cotton, so that's all gets consumed by the fire. So you're not left with any leftovers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so kind of I guess that kind of just goes back to the whole non-toxic thing. What are some of the things that create that extra like sooty residue in some of the other fire starters out there? Is that like a it seems like to me it would be like a super toxic, crazy chemical. I don't know anything about it, but
yeah, and
I'm sure you do.
Man, I wish my brother was here right now, because he would know. He knows all the chemicals and their properties.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. But like, if I were to ask him, he'd be able to tell me exactly why their stuff puts off like way more black smoke, or why something does this and something does that. But yeah, it's definitely because of the ingredients that they're using.
Okay. What about wood? Like, what's when you're camping? What have you found, especially with your experience? I'm sure you're more of a pyro and have lit more fires than all of us here. Do you have a specific type of wood that you find, burns the best, burns the longest?
You know what? To be honest, that's kind of a tricky question, because when I go, we just use whatever we can get is what we use. There's not, when we go, it's not like we're on a mission to seek out a certain species of wood. We just use whatever we can find. I will say this though, before we started Blackbeard fire starters, me and my brother, we were both carpenters at a furniture manufacturer, and this furniture manufacturer, it's called Utah Mountain Furniture. They are one of the last American-made real log furniture manufacturers in the United States. Anyways, long story short, so we worked with all sorts of wood, pine, aspen, all sorts of hardwoods, just everything, anything and everything. But my favorite wood by far has got to be alder. I just, I know it's not the best wood for fires. I understand that, and it's not necessarily a hardwood. It is a hardwood, but it's more on the softer side. It barely goes into the hardwood category. But man, it just, thinking back to woodworking, like cutting a piece of alder and just smelling it, and then we'd always take the scraps home and burn them in like our solo stove, on the weekends and stuff. Like I don't know, it was just fun. It just smells good. I like it.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of similar to like juniper. We have a lot of cedar, juniper around here, and man, you throw some of that in your stove in your tent, and it smells awesome.
Yeah.
And it burns nice. It's a good like initial fire. There's kind of like an outer layer of bark that you kind of have to get through, but once it gets rolling, it smells really, probably very similar to alder. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Most of the time when you're camping, you don't have a lot of choice. I will say I have found like sagebrush. If you can find like some dead sagebrush, if you're like, especially if you have like a little fire starter in there and you're trying to just get that thing ripping right away.
Oh man.
If you get like some dead sage, that it sparks up immediately. And it, especially, I've found the key, like if you do have wet wood that you're trying to burn like bigger logs or something like that, if you get something that is super hot that burns for, it can't just be like cardboard where it sparks up right away and then it dies. if you have like some sagebrush, I feel like you can get any piece of wood, burning with that stuff as long as it ignites. It can't be super wet, but yeah, that is a good point. I mean, you rarely have control of the wood that you can get, but it's just kind of whatever is put in front of you.
Yeah. Speaking of sagebrush, I don't know if you guys have a lot of tumbleweeds where you're at, but here we get tons of it, and like that's, I guess, back to your question about what's your favorite thing to start a fire with. I would say tumbleweed, because we always get like tons of tumbleweed and just put it in a huge pile. When you that, it's. I mean, it doesn't last for very long, but when it goes, it's fun with like these huge tumbleweeds. It's fun while it lasts.
It's kind of perfect because it's dry, and there's a lot of air in between the branches there, so it's like perfect for starting a fire.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's fun. Yep. It's fun. Not like too practical, just because they're so big, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, KJ, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do have a couple more questions for you. Number one, do you guys have anything in the works in terms of like new product? I mean, you guys have not been around for that long relatively, and I feel like you guys are huge already. But do you guys have any new products that are kind of on their way or that you're developing that you can talk about, or anything that you can't talk about that you want to hint at?
Let's see. Right now, yeah, we do have some new things coming in 2026. I don't know if I can share those right now though, but we do have some new stuff coming. Yeah, so
sweet. I'll take this second to insert. I do appreciate that you guys are very I don't want to say lax, but very, I don't know, you encouraged us to kind of create, like, you guys have your own bundles that you sell on your guys' website, but I am very appreciative that you guys are open to people kind of making their own bundles. So like what we have on the website is we have multiple bundles, and at the time of this podcast release, I think we should have them all live. Maybe not all of them are live, but we're going to have basically, one where you get a fire starter, a ferro rod, and you get like one of our little pouches. We also have essentially our backcountry tool roll, where you get a stove, or I'm sorry, you get a tarp, you get a silky saw, you get a bunch of Blackbeard stuff, you get a lighter, and then you get the flat roll. I think that's cool that you guys have these bundles that allow people to kind of, it's like, if you need a fire starter, you also need a lighter, and maybe you want a ferro rod in the background just in case you can't access your lighter or whatever. So I will say I'm very appreciative of that, and I just wanted to take that second to plug it there, what kind of some of the bundles that we have. So people check them out on the website there. They should be up. My last question that I have for you, and I'm sure you guys are very busy. I don't know how much time you get out, you have to get out and mess around in the woods, being the owner of a successful business there. But one piece of gear, and I ask this to basically everybody that comes on the podcast, and it's pop quiz. One piece of gear that you've added, and it can't be like Blackbeard or Seek Outside related. One piece of gear that you've added to your kit in like the last 2-3 years that nowadays you can't leave without it. You can't go out in the woods without that piece of gear.
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to say I got this new knife from Olive Knives, and I'm in love with it, man. It is
okay.
It's a nice, thick, heavy duty knife, and it's a workhorse for me. I love it.
Nice.
But go ahead.
What was the company called?
Olive Knives.
Olive, like the olive that you eat?
Yeah, like olive that you. Yeah, yep. I can't remember the model of the knife that I got, but I just got it from them, and it's like this knife. You'll see it in all of our videos. That's how much I love it. It's like such a workhorse, and I like it too because the metal that they use. I'm not sure like what kind of metal they use, but it's definitely quality metal where your knife stays sharp for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I can use it. I can do all the chores I need to do with it. The knife like holds its edge, and it's just a workhorse, man. And so that's been my favorite so far, to be honest. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, it's a good one. Can't beat having a good knife like that on. I mean, that's probably the thing that you use the most when you're out in the woods there. I mean, and you really realize that when you forget your knife at home, is like, you're like, oh, you know, sometimes when you take it out, you have a pocket knife or whatever, take it for granted. But when you get out there and you forget it, that's when you're like, oh man, I can't believe how much I actually use this thing and just don't think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one. Having a good knife. Yeah. Well, sweet, man. Well, do you guys have any, like, I guess by the time this comes out, Black Friday will be kind of close to being over. But do you guys have any sales or anything that you want to plug right now?
Yeah. So we do have a sale. Actually, you know, it'll be on your website, right? Let's just plug them on your website.
That works for me. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're up on the website now.
And that's the thing too, is they've got to go to your website, because they come to our website, they're not going to get the full kit that you guys offer with all the other, you know, camping supplies and gear. So that'll be the kits that you guys put together. That's the fun part, because, like, you know, we specialize in fire. We only go so far. You know, we end at fire, where you guys are camping in general. That's where you guys take it to the next level. So you guys, like, you know, take our fire starters, add, you know, what you know that, you know, campers, hikers, hunters, you know, everyone needs, and that's where the kits get really cool. So I would say check out your guys' website.
Yeah. Hopefully at the time of this podcast, we still have them in stock and ready to ship, and they're not sold out already. If they by chance are, we're probably, as we speak, while this podcast is coming out, getting some more. Yep. So definitely place the order. I mean, they make great, I mean, it's kind of a perfect Christmas gift, especially some of the packets. You know, we got, I think one is like $55 or $60. You get the ferro rod, you get the fire starter, you get a little pouch, perfect stocking stuffer or gift for, you know, the outdoorsman. We have on the high end, we have the flat roll, like the ultimate kind of surviving bundle, which comes with the Gunnison tarp, silky saw, fire starter, and I forget if it was the arc lighter or the ferro rod, but it's one of those. Which makes, I mean, it's, yeah, that one's there. Like $150, $160, but you get freaking everything. And honestly, like, I have one of those. Well, I'm building one of those just to keep in the back of my truck for, you know, emergency situations. You have kind of everything that you need right there. You got a tarp that you can sleep under. You have silky saw to make wood for the fire, and then you got the fire. So
yeah, $150. That's a steal, man.
Yeah. So we haven't made the price for it yet, so don't quote me. Don't come at me if it's a little bit more. But anyway, cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on here, and I am so glad that we were able to sell your stuff, because I personally love it, and especially just being made in the States here. I mean, we're made in the States, made 4 hours from each other. So yep. It's another pretty cool part of the relationship here. So we appreciate you guys, and thanks for jumping on, man. And we'll have to have you on again soon.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. This is great.
Thoughts on Shall I